All right, again, thank you all for coming. My name is Mark Rasmussen. I'm president at Buzzards Bay Coalition. We're very happy to be here today to open this trail, but also to celebrate and mark the protection of this wonderful farm. I want to start right there and say we're all here today because the Carvalho family decided over the course of a 20-year conversation to preserve this place forever. And when open space like this gets preserved, it starts with the family. And so we're going to hear from Tom Cavallo a little bit later, but I don't want anybody to think that this organization or any of the funders or the town or anybody else protected this farm. A family protected this farm, and that's how it always starts and how it always happens. So I want to start right off by thanking them today for allowing us to be here. We should start right there, yeah. So I want to speak just for a few minutes, play a little role of an MC, but this is mostly about everybody getting out and taking a walk and enjoying this place. But I want to start by saying, why did we work so hard, all of us collectively, the town, state agencies, private donors, together with the family, to preserve this place? And so just a few notes about Carvalho Farm, this property, which you're looking at less than half of right now, looking down this field. So 62-acre coastal farm. Not just a farm, though. Also forest, wooded stream, salt marsh, a granite outcropping, a section of the Buzzards Bay coastline. This property sort of had everything about why you preserve open space on the bay. It protects clean water in Nasketucket Bay here and on Buzzards Bay. Farms like this, natural streams, natural woodline streams, do so much to remove the pollution from all of our activities to keep the bay healthy. So protecting clean water was priority number one for us with this project. Second, it preserves farming in this town. I mean, some people always jokingly call this the Westport corner of Fairhaven, because this is a very unique landscape in Fairhaven, and it's very special. The collection of protected farms now in this section of Shaw's Cove is really special, and the Cavallo Farm was a key link in that complex. And lastly, the farm, because the family decided to share it with all of us, is now going to be open to the public to enjoy. So the trail we're going to walk today, the views you're going to see, these lands now allow others to become connected to the bay, connected to open spaces, and enjoy these landscapes. So that's why protect this place. And it seems pretty obvious, I'm guessing, to most of you that are here. But when we went out to the community to explain why should this farm be preserved, there's so much land in Fairhaven, why this place, those were the things that really resonated with people. That's why, and I think the last one I should just say is it's an awfully beautiful farm. So everybody loves and associates a lot with this place. So what happens from here? The Buzzards Bay Coalition now owns this property. We own and care for it. We will be the ones picking up trash if anything ends up here, making sure the trail is mowed, taking care of the forest, protecting the habitats. It's also permanently protected by a conservation restriction held on top of us, a legal document that makes sure that we never do anything funny with the land. So it's double protected. We sort of call this belts and suspenders in conservation. The Fairhaven Conservation Commission, the town, has the right to enforce that we live up to our promises to protect this place. So it's double protected. And that was a key feature of how this deal got done. Second, the trail is now open to the public. As of today, we'll cut this ribbon, and the public is invited to use and enjoy this place by walking down to the Indian Rock and enjoying this view. This field that you're looking at here, it's our plan to maintain this field as a native grassland wildflower field that will benefit local pollinators to support the other surrounding farms and also local birds. So think of more of a wildlife focus. This field will get cut once or twice a year or every other year to maintain native grasses, and so important to wildlife. At the same time, the field across the stream on the other side, is going to stay in active agriculture. So it will get cut for hay. It will grow crops again in the future. It's grown corn over the years. It will stay in active farming. So the property is doing something into the future for farming and for the environment at the same time. And that's really exciting. So that's what you'll see in the future here. What you won't see is a subdivision of houses. I could scare all of you with the development plans which were drawn for this place. You can just imagine the row of houses that could have destroyed these two fields, and that is not happening. And that's probably should be at the top of the list, is what's not happening here. I want to say these things come together because partners and funders make it happen. I want to start and say the town of Fairhaven stepped up through its Community Preservation Fund. So this is the fund that you all who are town residents pay on your tax bill to fund open space and conservation, also historic preservation and affordable housing in town. The CPA fund, $150,000 of it went in to help this deal come together. On top of that, a state grant for $85,000 supported the project, and a federal grant for $35,000 was also involved. And we'll hear from each of those partners in a moment. One of the most astonishing things is $490,000 was raised from private gifts. So private donors, two very large foundations that support conservation and farmland in New England thought this was a very important place to invest in. And an amazing $190,000 was raised from individuals like all of you, people who love open space in this region. So $760,000 overall to make this happen, and a really nice mix, I think, between public, private, foundation support to make it all come together. So that's how the deal happened. And to celebrate that, I next want to invite up Fairhaven Selectman Bob Espindola to speak to the town's interest and support for the project.
Thank you. On behalf of my fellow selectmen, Charles Murphy and Dan Freitas, and the entire town, I'd like to just say thank you to everyone who had any part in making this project come to fruition. And this is something that I learned when I first came on as a selectman, how incredibly important it is to preserve space like this for the community, and how much more valuable a community is to the people that live there when it has this type of open space for recreation. And I see it, firsthand all the time. Our bike path is not directly connected to this, but it's very close by. And often I'm on the path all the time, and I see people stop, and hiking in on the Shaw Farm Trail, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that here all the time. I did see someone as I was passing by here just the other day park his bike and come take a hike onto the property right across the way here. So connecting our beautiful bike path, that's one of the best assets we have in the town of Fairhaven, I believe, to projects like this is just I can't say enough about how beneficial it is to the town. And to me, that $150,000 of CPA money the town came up with for our portion of this is very well spent, and it's tremendous to have the type of match that we have from these organizations. So thank you to everyone that had anything to do with this. There'll be many people to enjoy this property in many years to come. Thank you.
So second, state and federal support always comes to play in these deals as well. And the fact that the town comes together and that private donors are there helps attract the federal and state agencies to contribute as well. And we're very fortunate in this region to have the Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program. They're based in West Wareham. Well, actually, as of next week in Mattapoisett, they're moving their offices. So Dr. Joe Costa is here, the executive director of the Estuary Program, who also contributed. Joe.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks for the great stick. You got some really nice ones there. Undeveloped land, if you've been around any length of time, you know that undeveloped land gets developed. And organizations like ours, agencies, a lot of environmental groups seek to protect the most valuable pieces of land, and this is definitely one of them. And when you look at the diversity of habitat on here, you're not just talking about the farmland. You have a stream. It's going into forested land. You're also abutting lots of other pieces of protected property to create contiguous habitat. And though Mark has stressed all the different sources of funding, I want to call out especially the coalition and certainly the Cavallo family, because it takes a lot of effort, not just money, to coordinate all these different people, all these different groups, to put together a package like this. Now, the Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program, we're part of Coastal Zone Management. So I actually work for the state, but we have federal funding. And the state has, as Mark pointed out, contributed $85,000. We contributed $35,000. The purpose of our funding, it's through our municipal grant program, is to leverage town participation in these kinds of projects. We help bring in the Conservation Commission's conservation restriction on this property. So the town shares the responsibility of protecting the property along with the coalition. And I think it's a very important part of this overall strategy for land protection, so that many people are involved and have an interest in it. well, I guess that's about it. I just want to say that, Mark, you've done a great job and the coalition. I want to just thank the Cavallo family for working and getting this land protected. All right.
Thank you, Joe. So just a very short history story some folks from Fairhaven may remember this from Mattapoisett. About 25 years ago, the tree line over behind those houses, so the wood line behind the next field over there, is a farm that straddles the border between Fairhaven and Mattapoisett. Folks here in this area refer to it as the Borges Farm. Most people locally know it as the Borges Farm. At the time, though, it had been bought by a group of developers who were trying to put together a very complicated scheme for a golf course condominium development at a place called Brant Point. They were referring to it as Brant Point. And that really launched the big conservation effort that has us all standing in this field today, not surrounded by a condo development or a golf course. That developer started marching through the neighborhood, talking to everybody about how could they put together this massive new residential community down here on the bay, which would have been major impacts to the environment here. Towns of Fairhaven and Mattapoisett really were not interested in this plan, but it did bring together a lot of people, most importantly the landowners and people who are concerned about conservation, to say, hey, wait, we all shouldn't just assume that those farms are always going to be there. It sort of launched a conservation effort. In a very dramatic move, the state in 1998 went and bought that property, the whole peninsula. That is a beautiful, if you're out on the bay, on Nasketucket Bay, and you look back, the mound, the drumlin hill of the former Borges property is very prominent. That became the Nasketucket State Reservation. A few years later, we were able to purchase and protect this property just over the tree line. It's not a farm, it was all forest, a place called Newlands Neck. And if you're in Little Bay in Fairhaven on Nasketucket Neck looking across east, the whole wooded shoreline you see on the other side, that's Newlands Neck. That's right behind this property here. That was a 100-acre acquisition that happened. Now the state park was here, Newlands Neck was there. In 2014, the largest conservation deal at the time ever to be done on Buzzards Bay in 2014, 416 acres for $6 million. We were all collectively able to preserve the property that now has the Shaw Farm Trail on it. And so the Shaw Farm is the historic name for what everybody refers to as the Borges Farm. So we gave it back the Shaw name. But that's where the Shaw Farm Trail is. So this story of how conservation's come together in Nasketucket Bay has taken now more than 25 years. And at the very beginning of it, it was started at the Carvalho house with Tom's mother, Lena, and his sister, Nancy, sitting there talking about how are we going to be part of this conservation. And so I want to introduce Tom Cavallo here now to speak on behalf of the family's interest in this and how this ever happened. And I sprung this idea on Tom about 3 minutes ago, so just so you know. And I told him he only has a half hour. So...
I had forgotten all about the first meeting, like Mark just said, when my mother was around. So this does go back a long ways, and we couldn't put things together back then. And then years later, my sister had gotten sick, and we contacted them again. And unfortunately, she's not here to see this. And about all I wanted to say was that both my parents would be very happy with what's happened here, and especially my sister too. So I'm really glad that this happened. And I don't want you guys to think I did this out of the goodness of my heart. The thing is, I didn't want any neighbors. All right? So I hope everybody enjoys it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Don't go so far, Tom. All right, so Tom, you got to come back because you're going to help me cut this thing. So we're going to do the official. So Bob and Joe, come on up. But the honor gets to come behind here. We're going to officially open Indian Rock Trail at Carvalho Farm. I'm going to give the honor to Tom. You guys, let's pull this tight, Joe.
Yep. Where are we?
Right there, yep. All right.